wanted to see what's your spicy hot take on AI? What's overhyped or
Yeah, I think models are at a good state now. A lot of people are focusing on the application layer, so I think models are going to improve. But unless if there is like an algorithmic breakthrough, I don't know if there's going to be a point where like humans are irrelevant in a lot of tasks, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're only improving and removing a lot of inefficiencies that came with the way things have been built over the past 20 years, where software is more of a tool than something that can get worked on. So to that extent, I feel like a lot of the activities on application layer, we are at a point where we know what models do and what don't.
Let's go. Okay.
All right, I'm Joseph. We're here at DevRelCon, and today I'm talking to Harish from Gibson AI. You want to tell us a little bit about your product and what it does, what type of problem you're trying to solve, and if you could, explain it for somebody non-technical.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, my name is Harish Mukami. I'm the CEO of Gibson AI. Gibson AI is AI for databases. While it sounds like a pretty broad category, we're specifically focused on database ops. In that, the core problem that we're trying to solve is it's a fast-moving industry. People are building apps in a matter of minutes. Agents are operating in millisecond time frame. How can the database infrastructure support this workflows? So for this, the first use case is essentially you can quickly provision a database on using Gibson AI. You can either go to our website and chat with the agent to design your schema, deploy it wherever you want across the vendors, or you can be in an IDE and we're connected via an MCP server, so you can just chat with your typical IDE and ask them like, hey, I'm building a vendor management system, provision a database for this on Gibson AI, and this will be provisioned in a matter of seconds. So typically a task which would take you to AWS and figuring out how to actually set up and all of that, we're bringing that down to seconds here. So that's the primary use case. Once you have deployed, built a database, how do you continue to make changes to it, manage migrations, evolve, scale? All of that forms the part of as you grow, we grow with you.
That's awesome. I have checked it out. I used it a little bit. I did the chat where you're just chatting with it and it's developing the back end in the site. I tried the MCP as well through Cloud Code, which is super convenient when you're building and you don't want to stop and have to go add a field to the back end. You can just ask it. It's really cool. Kind of curious, what inspired it? Where'd the idea come from? The name Gibson, and the product idea, and just how did it all evolve?
Yeah. The name is based on a supercomputer from the 90s movie Hackers.
Okay.
So we thought it was cool, so we named it. And then the idea came from essentially one of the core things we thought through when building things with AI is that AI models are good at writing code. So they're a bit more, those code is a bit more stateless. It's more non-deterministic. But when it comes to databases, when it comes to more relational databases, it's more stateful. So how do you build AI to work with databases which have a bit more guardrails and rules and expect more deterministic execution? So this is what inspired us to bring AI to the database realm, especially when you're tackling with SQL-based databases, infrastructure, all of those problems that are not necessarily solved by AI coding tools today. It is supposed to be working in conjunction with many of these tools. And it also comes from years and years of working with databases. Me and our co-founder, Mike, who was the co-founder and CTO of Resi, we both experienced these problems at our previous go-arounds.
Yeah.
So if you think about how you start off, you have a specific set of data models and schemas, and it supports your version 1 of your app. As you continue to evolve and go to a version 10, 10 versions later, you're still writing on the business logic layer, UI layer. You're barely touching the database because there's a challenging aspect to making changes to a database. So people end up doing a lot of that on the application layer, and that's where you incur a lot of tech debt. So how do we actually go down and help assist people make changes to their database and be more build more efficient products?
Cool. Okay. So, are there like specific use cases or like certain verticals that you're seeing more of, or is it just kind of across the board, any kind of vertical? You know, what's the most common that you see from your customers?
Yeah. So if you think about Gibson, especially if you think about AI for database ops, or we also want to call it an AI DBA, but nowadays, like the 0 to 1, people don't think about it as a
Yeah.
DBA as such. So we have three sets of customers the way we see it. The first is the 0 to 1 builders. So here we're provisioning the database for you, uh, assisting you with schema design, providing the ORM to access this database,
Mhm.
and deploying it and managing the infrastructure for you. So you can just focus on building your front end and business logic. So this is for 0 to 1 builders. The second is once we had quite a few 0 to 1 builders to join, and then some of them are coming from companies and like, hey, what if we already have an existing database? How do we use this?
I was gonna ask that next, actually. Okay.
Yeah, and some people don't prefer us manage their cloud instances, so they come to us and say like, hey, we want to manage our own database, but we do love the schema design aspect of it, migration aspect of it, performance and query tuning aspect of Gibson. So, do you support that? And then we started building out a bring your own database use case where users can bring their database, put their connection string, and then start working with Gibson. So that is the
Nice.
second set of customers who already have a database. We're not starting at zero.
Okay.
And the thing that we have been seeing more recently is agents spinning up databases. So that is a third set of, I would say, quote unquote, uh, uh, personas
Yeah.
who are using Gibson, agents spinning up databases on the fly, making changes to schema.
Hmm.
I was talking to you just now about a use case. People have written up like, hey, like I'm building a AI agent for lead research or SDR outreach,
Yeah.
and then you build that agent, and then you probably agent can provision Gibson database on the fly and say these are all the 10 things that I want to research for this
Hmm.
particular as a part of this outreach effort. And then you go and like you see the data and say as a developer, okay, I actually want to target folks who have raised funding in the past 6 months, so now go research those companies.
Yeah.
Now, agent can actually go talk to Gibson and then add those fields that it want to research. It found more information on and easily persist them. Migrations handled, so everything happens seamlessly at an agented speed. If we didn't have that, the alternative is that you had to think through and go and make changes to the data model, make changes to the, I guess the migrate the schema,
Yeah.
and then tell agent to like actually bring these fields in and then structure the output appropriately. If agent found additional fields, like this is more deterministic versus like agentic reasoning. So we support this use case as well, where agents can spin up DBs, make changes to the schema, and have Gibson act as a persistence layer for them.
Cool. You know, it's really interesting that you described it that way, of the third persona being an agent instead of a person. Like, agents are doing everything now; they're everywhere. But I'm only starting to hear them referred to as like a persona or a user for the next product, instead of them being the tool. Then now we're looking at them as like a consumer or user of stuff. Earlier there was a talk. Thor from 11 Labs was talking about having your docs structured in a format that's AI friendly, or LLM, to be able to scrape it. Right. Then there's the LLM.text instead of robots.text that people are starting to add. And I just think it's really interesting the way things are evolving now, that we're thinking of agent first or LLM first interfaces, and the human is like secondary. You know, you're just there to kind of babysit it. And but you want to give most of the power and the controls to the AI first.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think people are also putting together a set of agents, chaining them together to do a task.
Yeah.
So instead of human being in the loop for maybe every execution, now agents can handle maybe 10 steps at once, and when human is sitting back and let them figure it out. So when there's a bit more of a non-deterministic execution and agents are reasoning on what agents to pass off the paths to or call,
Yeah.
I think persistence layer becomes even more important because what is the frame of reference that a next agent is supposed to work on, right?
Right.
So this becomes the crux of like, are you able to like trace back all these steps, especially when you have a bunch of agents executing?
Mm-hmm.
And does the next agent has to redo all the work that somebody has done because you are not like persisting right information to pass it on? So that's another use case. But we there are enormous amount of use cases that Gibson can solve based on the infrastructure that we have built. But we wanna nail those 2 to 3 use cases well before we move on to the next one.
Okay. So with platforms like Bolt and Lovable and things where they're the app, the UI, the front end and the back end, they break that down into multiple agents, and there's like the orchestration layer and the main agent that's deploying the individual instructions. Having this one do the front end, this one's doing the back end, and the back end agent would just it would be a single agent that does the entire back end, right? Well, your platform is only the back end. Have you broken that process down into multiple sub agents?
Yeah.
So whereas in Lovable, it might be a single agent doing the back end.
Yeah.
In your case, you have multiple. So what are the pieces of that you've broken down, and what do those smaller agents do that maybe Lovable isn't doing? Or it sounds like yours is more granular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Lovable has broken down their agents. I'm sure they're using multiple agents because they do a lot of work within a small period of time, and I'm sure they've spawned off multiple agents to do it. So so I don't specifically know, but I can talk about Gibson. We definitely employ multiple agents because all of this schema design and responding to user queries and SQL execution and then creation of docs and deploying them in AWS cloud and then making sure that you one-shot deploy whatever user has built out. Um, every single one of those tasks are managed by sub-agents that all report to a supervisor agent that orchestrates across these different sub-agents. So
Okay.
we definitely have a whole bunch of agents to do the task. That's why we're able to like get a lot of these things done within a sub-second time frame.
And what models are you? Is it all the same model across all the different agents with just a different prompt, or do you use completely different models?
Yeah. So when you say models, I'm assuming you're referring to LLMs.
Yeah, like the foundation models. Are you using Anthropic or
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah. So we use both Anthropic and OpenAI.
Okay.
Both of them excel in different tasks.
Yep.
And we're also pretty diligent in upgrading to the new models as they come along and then
Okay.
evaluate the results. Because I mean, every advancement is pushing better experience for our users. So when we started out with Cloud Sonnet 3.5 and GPT 4.0, and then we went through the progression of AI models that went through. Now we're using our latest models from both Anthropic and OpenAI.
Okay.
So those are the two that we're using. And then what was the other question that you asked?
As far as how the models are attached for the end user, can they put in their API key? Can they pick which model, or have you just decided this agent's going to use this model, this one uses it,
Yeah.
and then those all come together to the one chat for the end user?
Yeah.
At that point in that chat, can they pick a model, or is it everything's determined? Like this sub agent is going to do this part with OpenAI, and this one's going to do whatever with Claude.
Yeah. Yeah. So we wanted to offload that work to us so that the developers don't have to figure out like, should I pick what model is the best? So we're going to make the decision
Yeah.
for them right now. We know that some models excel in planning, whereas other models excel in writing code. So we do that now, but maybe in the future, if there is an interest or if there is if developers want to use their own models, we're open to opening that up.
Cool. Okay. So what do you have on the horizon? Is there anything that you want to add? Any features that are getting ready to launch, or anything you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two core features that we're focused on. Number one is we have heard from our second subsegment, the segment of the customers who are bringing their own database, that what they're the couple of things that they're very interested in is how can you optimize my database performance? So database tuning, managing, I guess, the database grunt work, if I want to call it. The second is query optimization. So how can you optimize our queries to be more performant? So this has an immense amount of downstream impact on application performance, user experience, not to mention the costs. So that's a couple of big ticket features that are coming up in our for our I guess business customers, mid-sized customers. Um, and the second would be we're definitely researching how to extend our persistence layer for AI agents. So today we can like manage your data and you can make changes to it, and we all offer this for the agents. So how can we actually go beyond that and actually be a memory for our agents so that we agents can actually replay what they have done, whether it is for debugging, evaluation, testing,
Right.
or storing that context and passing it on to the next agent, and with the underlying goal of making sure that we are delivering high quality results to the end users when the agents execute, and also a bit more predictable.
Okay.
Which are more important in business, like a real world use cases.
Right. Okay. So let's say you had a magic wand and you could add any feature to your platform. There's no limit on resources, on model, speed, latency, anything. Like, what would your wish be if you could just add any feature to your platform?
That is, um, the one thing this is our ultimate vision, and maybe if we can accomplish this today, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Is for Gibson to act as a persistence layer and memory layer for every single agent running in the world. So, what I mean by that is, if you think about the traditional way of building software, you had UI and you have business logic and you have the data layer, right? So, three components. The UI and business logic are being handled by agents. Data layer is not going to go away because you do need some source of truth, a frame of reference. You do need a state. So the ultimate vision is for Gibson to power that data layer for every single AI agent. So agents are working with Gibson all day, provisioning databases, adding columns, making changes, persisting data. And when I say columns and schema, right now we support structured data, more like SQL databases, but we also want to support unstructured information. So
Yeah.
you just have this one layer of a provider managing all the data, and then agents are working with Gibson, and they're not worried about whether is this data stale, are we operating with the most updated information, is this fast and efficient, are we just throwing a bunch of storage, and by the time I'm done with the execution, I'm going to get like a $100,000 bill. So all of those things we want to solve for agents so that we become the de facto data layer for them. So magic wand resources,
Yeah.
we want to build that right now, but I know it's going to be a bit more of a grind to get there.
Right. Okay. So I got one more question for you. And we got some hot sauce here. We had some made here. We got Kevin and me on the front there. And what we're doing is we want to hear your spicy hot take on AI. Whether it doesn't have to necessarily be about your product or using it for the back end, just AI in general. But we're kind of going through everybody at different platforms, getting everybody's take, and we got the hot sauce here for it. So we just wanted to see what's your spicy hot take on AI? What's overhyped or
Yeah. I mean, I think models are at a good state now. A lot of people are focusing on the application layer, so I think models are going to improve. But unless if there is like an algorithmic breakthrough, I don't know if there's going to be a point where like humans are irrelevant in a lot of tasks, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're only improving and removing a lot of inefficiencies that came with the way things have been built over the past 20 years, where software is more of a tool than than something that can get work done. So to that extent, I feel like a lot of the activities on application layer, we are at a point where we know what models do and what don't. And one of the things that is challenging, and especially on the enterprise side, is that there's not a lot of ROI that people are seeing outside of a subset of use cases. So right now, the initial adoption is a lot of it is by developers, and a lot of people are building a lot of products. But the question is, are they really solving the right problem? Are they really solving a business problem that is going to have a material impact on the business side? So if you're building, focus on that.
All
I
right.
think that is the biggest thing, and I feel like a lot of the problems that are being solved are not necessarily in that space.
Yeah.
So it's a capability that we got our hands on, and we're building stuff, but maybe not everything is going to drive value on the business side. The second piece is a lot of labs now that's a realization. So a lot of funds are investing in these new age companies that are trying to make more breakthrough in the foundational models or maybe algorithms to get to that quote unquote AGI.
Yeah.
So that is the whether when that works out and whether that works out is as good as anybody's guess.
Right. Yeah.
People have been working on AI for decades until we have the breakthrough with the Transformers architecture in 2019. So, or maybe I don't know, like the year 2018 or so. So, that is going to materially change the way, but we kind of have a good handle of where AI is and what it can do and what it can't.
Right. Yeah. It's been around way longer than most people realize, but it skyrocketed after that, the Transformers change, and
Okay.
it's been incremental as far as how it's helped us. A new model comes out, it gets a little bit better, and then we get better at coding, and then a new model comes out. And so it seems like the way that it's helped us has been these kind of incremental changes, but the AI ecosystem or the technology as a whole, it gets these huge advances. And then that kind of feeds in, trickles down or whatever, and then they use that to train a model or to make something more efficient or cheaper. And yeah, it's just like this iterative process. So then who knows what the next big transformation will be, but then that's going to have ripple effects that downstream, affect everything else getting more efficient. And who knows, there might not be much work left for us.
Yeah, I mean, right now there is a plenty, but
Yeah.
maybe down the road there might not be. But I feel like I still think that there's a lot more we can do. I mean, look, real world problems are still there. Like
Oh yeah, we're only solving digital problems. Like we're not really affecting the physical world a whole lot yet. There's so many areas that yeah, and AI for vision for like not just an image, but like real world scanning. And I'm trying to remember what it's called, spatial whatever, where the AI is able to understand objects. Yeah, but like in 3D and understanding your environment and objects moving and things like that. It's kind of almost like a game engine, but the AI understanding the physics and the motions and everything. So be interesting to see how that evolves, and then how that can change our physical world too. Because right now we're just making everything digital, more efficient, but it's all still kind of trapped within the internet, within computers. We're not we're making huge advancements outside of that with AI yet.
Yeah. For that, for AI to transition effectively in the physical world,
Mhm.
the results have to be a bit more deterministic. Here, you can tell AI to write code, and it can write code for you. And if you don't like it, you can just delete it or redo it or go to a different model.
Yeah,
But you can't do that in the physical world, so it needs to be a bit more tested.
yeah.
So that might take a while, but who knows? Maybe
Right.
we'll see that soon.
Yeah, a few years ago, we never would have thought we'd be here, so
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you for joining us. For anybody that's interested, where can they find you online? If you want to give the website again, it's Gibson AI. Is it gibsonai.com or I?
Yeah, it's gibsonai.com.
Okay.
So just go there. It's free to get started. So
And then if anybody wants to find you online, are you more on LinkedIn, X?
yeah, I'm on both. So you can find me Harish Mukami on LinkedIn, and then same on X Harish MUK. So that's my handle. So
Cool.
you can find me in both.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. And for anyone listening, Appsmith and Gibson AI, we're going to be working on a collab soon. We're going to have something really cool to share that we've already kind of started building it. Can't say too much about it yet, but we're going to have a separate collaboration with Bover from Gibson AI. So yeah,
Absolutely.
be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, excited for that.
Cool. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.